and welcome to the Select Characters podcast. My name is Chris. I will be your host, and I'm co-hosting, as always, with my two American friends, Enrique and Sam. Hi, guys.
Yay for being here.
Hey.
Yeah. We're actually all here, which is something that didn't really happen for the past month or so.
Yeah.
Because scheduling is hard, especially when every single one of us is on a different side of the planet. So, you know.
I accept no blame for that.
Well, actually, I think this bears repeating, but the episode that you did on your own was really, really good.
Yeah,
and
dude.
I really enjoyed listening to that.
That was actually a really good take.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's just how I've learned I'm supposed to accept compliments. Just say thank you.
Is there a way where we can pressure you into doing more of that for the YouTube channel?
I mean, I doubt it, but I don't know. I did check my schedule and see what kind of time I got. It was fun, but I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, don't feel pressured to do anything. Yeah.
Hold on. Did you say, is there a way we could pressure you into doing this? And then,
yes.
And then 4 seconds later said no pressure.
Don't think too much about it.
I'm just, okay.
Anyway.
All right.
Shh. No more tears. Only dreams.
Well, we're off to a good start, and let's just talk about what we have been playing. Who wants to start?
I can go first. Why not? I was actually at the beach for most of the week, so I didn't have a lot of consoles with me, but I did bring my DS, so I got the chance to play through some of my backlog, and I picked up Majora's Mask, which was actually one of my favorite Zelda games that has actually come out in a while. So
does it hold up well?
Yeah, even better actually. So going into it, it already has kind of that nostalgia factor because it is one of my favorite Zelda games. So just playing that, but they actually did some really minute changes that it kept the game a little refreshing. When you first start the game, you meet these kids called the Bomber Gang, and to join them, you have to do this little mini game where they all hide in the city, and you have to go find them. And they actually changed the location of where they all hid. So something as simple as that, it kind of keeps you on your toes. So you don't actually just go on autopilot and kind of play through I know where they're at. You actually
and suddenly it's an adventure again.
Yeah, and it's cool because it still has that nostalgia factor driving it, but every now and then they interject these really small changes where it kind of switches the everything on you. So it kind of refreshes that enjoyment you had out of it. So it's still familiar, but it kind of has a nice little surprise to it.
Right. Yeah. What I did notice when it came out is that it looks exactly like I remember what that game looks like, even though the original looks way worse when you compare it to the 3DS version.
Yeah, that's an interesting effect because it's when you pick up games now, like Indigo or Fahrenheit 251 or Indigo Prophecy, whichever name it was. Mm-hmm. But it looks awful now. And I remember playing it, when it first comes out, you're like, oh, this is as good as graphics going to get, and then you pick it up, you're like, ugh, this did not age well at all. But with Majora's Mask, it's weird because it still looks exactly like I remember it, but it's still pleasing to the eye. It doesn't look like it aged that much.
Yeah, they did the same thing with the Wind Waker re-release, the remaster, which looks exactly like I remember what that game looked like, but it looks a lot better than the original does.
Yeah, Wind Waker actually, they had an advantage though, which is kind of what World of Warcraft does, where they intentionally went for that kind of stylized cartoon aesthetic, so it ages well no matter what. So I could venture you could play Wind Waker probably 10 years from now, and it'll still look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, but no, it was mainly just that, kind of picking up some old DS games to play that. I was replaying Dragon Quest 9, which is another fun one. There's really fun RPGs for the DS. So it's one of those things that kind of reaffirms my purchase. I never regretted owning a DS like I did with the Vita. Because with the Vita, there was one or two titles that would come out, and you're like, oh yeah, totally worth the purchase. And then a month later, you're like, fuck this thing. Why do I even own it? But I don't know. With the DS, it's always one of those consoles that every now and then something fun comes out, and you kind of makes you happy that you even own it.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't know how that feels. To be honest.
Are you still indebted with your purchase?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it on the Sunday during the second ever. What's that name called? Live action roleplay. Jesus Christ! No, not that.
Are you LARPing?
Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons. That's
are you LARPing Dungeons and Dragons? Is that what's going on?
No, I'm not. I'm not LARPing. I'm going to sell the DS to one of the people in my party. So,
in game, or are you meta playing? I'm very confused right now.
Yes, I was using the wrong words. I play Dungeons and Dragons just with a few other friends of mine at someone's house. We don't do any LARPing. I just used the wrong word. I'm sorry.
Can I still?
But I'm selling
Can I still keep that fantasy of you LARPing and you're actually selling it in game?
Well, actually, I never really LARPed, but I went to a couple of Renaissance fairs, and the first time I went to one of those, I actually ended up sleeping in a tent that belonged to like a whole group of LARPers, and I slept under a bearskin and stuff like that, and I woke up thanks to them playing bagpipes and shit. So I sort of had that experience.
Was that by choice?
Well, I went to the Renaissance fair, but I didn't book a hotel because why the fuck would I? So I just ended up sleeping on the actual grounds overnight, which is pretty cool. Well, as one doesn't, and that's why I wanted to do it. And it was fun. But I digress. Yeah, I'm still embittered with my purchase. It's just, I don't think it's a good console, man.
Would it? Is it mainly because you haven't really played anything making it worthwhile, or is it just the console itself that you feel like? So I remember you weren't really happy with like the so-called improvements on the new 3DS.
Well, I don't get why it has to be 3D. I know you can switch it off, but it doesn't really add all that much.
It's honestly it's a gimmick.
To me, at least. Yeah, that's the thing with Nintendo. It's usually just gimmicks, but no real forethought put into it. But the thing I disliked the most about the 3DS was the screen. The screen got bigger in the new 3DS, but the resolution
stayed the same.
Did not.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. That screen just looks terrible.
I agree. I'm with you 100%.
No, it's definitely like the games look grainy.
Yes, really, really grainy. One thing I did really like was the sound. The sound on that thing is really, but it's not enough to keep me there.
Understandable. Like I said, I mean, for me, it's there's a couple of titles that I have on it, and that's for me makes the purchase worth it because it kind of goes back to remember, months ago. We talked about like how you can preserve old titles, and I know it's not an ideal situation, but something like Majora's Mask, which is an old 64 game, short of me digging out my N64 and finding the cartridge again, being able to have it on a modern console for me, I like the idea of doing it.
Yeah, that is definitely a perk. I think it's cool that it exists, but there's nothing for me there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah. Anything else you played?
Nope, just that, man. Like I said, most of my time was spent on the beach watching a little corgi swim. So
Adorable.
Well, I do want to talk to you about something. I want to talk to you about No Man's Sky because you've been playing that as well, right?
Yes, I have.
So now that the dust has sort of settled, what do you think of No Man's Sky? Does it hold up well?
Define hold up. So
is it still fun? Like, maybe I should start with asking like how many hours have you put into it?
Here's the thing. I find it fun, but at the same time, I was very cautious. I did a lot of research in the game, and I knew what it was going into it. So
yeah,
I was expecting just like a nice casual game where I could kind of just explore and goof around for a bit. And that's, for me, it kind of does its job. It's the way I describe it almost, it's like a more structured Minecraft in the sense that there's no real like end goal per se, at least story wise. It's a lot of wandering around. It's more structured in the sense that you don't really have a lot of creative freedom in terms of what you craft or like where you go and stuff like that. But it still has like that whole concept where a lot of it is you just kind of like drop somewhere and left to your own devices. So if you want to repair a ship and fly away, you can. If you just want to wander around and explore stuff, you can. It's got a lot of really cool little like collectible stuff that you can do, like finding all the life forms on the planet, identifying all the like minerals, whatever you need, all the locations. It's got enough small stuff that for me, it's the kind of game where if I just have like an hour or two to kill and I don't want to kind of get invested in something competitive that's going to like stress me out or get me all hyped up, I just want like a nice, fun, relaxing game. I mean, No Man's Sky is kind of filling that niche.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think I've described it to a friend recently as an interactive wallpaper.
Yeah.
It's just something that you do if you don't feel like doing anything at all. It looks nice, the music's incredible, and it just, it scratches an itch. And that's all it does. It's not a game that you want to binge on because the gameplay loop is extremely limited. There's not a lot that you do in the game. But it's just very pleasant to play it, just 1 or 2 hours every now and then.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. Like, if people ask me, like, how do I play the game, I'd say I'm content. It's not something that I'm going to, go and, like, I'm not going to recommend everybody buy it because I don't think it's a game that a lot of people are going to enjoy. But for what it is, I find it enjoyable enough. And I mean, was it Sean Murray? I feel bad because part of me feels like he Molyneuxed us, or he Molyneuxed a lot of people, where he kind of just over delivered or he over promised, didn't deliver. Because I remember when they were talking about the interviews, he mentioned about wanting to do a lot of things, which reminds me of a lot of the things that Peter Molyneux said with Spore. And then when the game comes out, it's almost like a bare bones version of that.
Wait, did Peter Molyneux make Spore? Wasn't that Maxis and a different guy? Wasn't that the guy behind The Sims that made it?
Was it? Maybe I'm completely off base.
Will Wright?
Or maybe I'm completely off base.
Will Wright?
Might be, yes.
Will Wright, yeah.
Okay. But it was the same thing with Spore, because I remember when they were talking about Spore, they mentioned you'll be able to evolve from a single cell, and everything you do will impact the evolution, all that stuff. And you get the game, it's pretty much like a creature creator with that's it. So
yeah, and he was technically correct about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
just not what people.
That's one of the things. It was technically correct, but it's hard to tell if the community kind of bought into the overhype themselves, and that's why everything over-delivered. Because I felt like the last couple of weeks before the game was out, Sean Murray was trying to do damage control, saying, "Hey, just a heads up, guys, this might be a very divisive game, or you might not, this might not be what you expect."
Well, he fucked it up post-release as well, because the moment people started to find out that you can't really see each other in a game in any way, shape, or form, he tweeted out that he was amazed that people already found each other, but people did not find each other. That's where the controversy stemmed from. And after that, he hasn't spoken on No Man's Sky at all. It's okay to recognize the guy has lied in several key places. Why he lied, either because he was overzealous or something like that, I don't know. But a lot of people do feel duped, which is, a shame, especially when you see the game. It's obviously a labor of love, that game, right?
Yeah, but
everything about it feels like some guy's magnum opus, but that magnum opus
just wasn't good enough.
Has very little going for it.
Yeah, and I remember he's mentioned some things that he wants to include in the game, which is I'm on the camp that it's great if you add it, but I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised when I load the game one day and there's a patch, but I don't know how I feel about it, because part of me feels bad for him, and I can understand why he hasn't really commented on No Man's Sky since then, because, man, dude, if you look at the before and after pictures, man, the guy just looks worn. He looks like he just needs to take a holiday.
Well, I also think Sony's legal team is advising both Sony and Sean Murray to not talk to the community at all at the moment, which is why they're both completely silent on the subject.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, especially with the whole debacle with refunds, and like you said, everyone's saying they got ripped off and all that.
Yeah, the debacle with refunds. There are no refunds. You can't still get a refund if you bought the game. That's not how it works. For some reason, this persistent rumor started on Reddit, of all places, of course, where they said, well, you could still get a refund from Sony and Steam. And actually, Steam had to come out and say, no, we don't. So,
yeah.
There's a lot surrounding that game right now that just doesn't feel right. And that is not really related to how I feel about the game itself. It's just the stuff
I agree, yeah.
around the game.
The game itself, like I said, it's fine. I'm content with it. But yeah, all that, there's a lot of drama around it, and it's just like a fire that people keep throwing fuel on.
Yeah, and that could be solved at least somewhat by Sean Murray just speaking the fuck up, because that is what the community wants the most. They want him to address them.
I don't know. I think the community says they want him to speak up, but I think what they really want is they just want him to speak up so they can tear him down. I think there's a lot of misplaced anger right now with the game, and they're just looking for a target, and Sean Murray isn't saying anything, so he's not giving them that target.
On the other hand, though, the cult of personality that surrounds Murray right now, the people who are outright denying that he's lied and stuff, that is also kind of annoying, because it's not conducive to discussion whatsoever, and it's not constructive either. No. I mean, it's fine to like a game that is really flawed, and let's be honest here, No Man's Sky is flawed, but it's okay to criticize it.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I completely agree. But it's one of those things where you have one camp that is so vehemently against it that eventually it kind of rubber bands, and it creates its own antithesis, where now you have another band that's going to support it blindly no matter what, and it's just two opposite extremes.
Yeah, it's weird. The pro side of the discussion, I just get the feeling that they're just trying to defend their purchase, which is something that you shouldn't need to do anyway. I mean, isn't having fun validation enough for you? Do you need to defend your purchase to other people who may not like what you like?
That's true. I mean, and it goes back. Some people are just really invested in it, and it's not even about defending their purchase. It's just, I don't know, they almost feel like by admitting that the game fell short, they're kind of admitting that their own choice fell short or something. I don't know.
It's cognitive dissonance, I think.
Could be. But like I said, man, as far as all that drama aside, regardless, the game itself, I think it's fun. It's not. Yeah, I'm not going to recommend it to everybody because I can right now tell you that a majority of people probably like it or they'll get bored of it really quickly. But for what it does, I think it scratches that weird itch that when you don't really want to do anything, but you still want to play something.
Yeah. I fully agree. I don't regret my purchase at all. I don't regret buying it at the price I bought it at. So I'm good.
Yep, same here.
Just shut the fuck up and look at the pretty sunsets, right?
There you go.
Conspicuously silent the entire way through. Sam.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, guy.
Yeah, I haven't played that game or followed any of the controversy stuff, so I'm not knowledgeable enough to comment in any direction. But if I was gonna say anything, I'd say it's a situation that we've seen before, and history will always repeat itself, and it'll happen next year with some other game. People get divided the same way.
It'll happen next week. Most likely.
Probably also true.
So, tell me, have you played anything other than RimWorld this week?
Nope. Nope. I know. Sucks.
Still? I think this is the longest I've ever seen you play a game.
So, I'm almost done. I think I'm almost done.
Have you reached that point where I guess like you've mastered the mechanics yet?
Yeah, but then I installed all those mods and now I don't again.
Okay.
So I'm almost. I got a good colony going. I'm gonna make it to the end of the research tree for this hardcore SK mod pack, and once that's done, I'm gonna update to Alpha 15, and then I'm gonna try and do a pacifist run with no turrets, and then I think at that point I'll probably be ready to move on from the
until they update it.
Until they update it or a new monsoon of mods gets released.
It's funny because most of the stuff that is in Alpha 15 is already in the mod pack that I have.
Really?
Just in a less official sort of capacity. So there's already drugs and there's already a quarry where you can mine stuff and like you can already call traders and it's stuff when you look at like the suggestion threads on Reddit and you just scroll through it, people are like, it'd be neat if this was in the game. And I'm like, that's in my game. Like, probably 80% of that stuff I've already got.
How do you a bit of a segue, but how do you feel about like when the community gets a little like trigger happy with suggestions?
It's fine. I mean, it's up to them, right? And it's actually, I have no problem with them getting trigger happy with suggestions. Like, go for it, man. But I think you have to have a good developer who's able to separate the wheat from the chaff. Because, like anything,
and do you feel RimWorld is being developed by such a team?
He seems to know what he's doing. I mean,
it's just one guy?
It's one guy, and I think he outsources some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
holy shit.
I know he outsourced like a lot of the artwork and some of like the programming and stuff.
If it is a solid team, it's probably like 5 people, and then the rest of it is just, contract labor, I assume. I don't actually know the truth, but like the face that's on the box would be that guy, Tynan Sylvester, I think his last name is. But he seems to have a good grasp on it. I think he's fine. I got no problems, and like it's so moddable that even if he's not, then it's cool. But if you have people putting up tons and tons of suggestions, and you can comb through and find the right ones that are the smart ones, in that case, then it's just, I don't know, the probability is higher that you get a better game in the end, I think. And it doesn't seem like it seems, at least from what I read, it seems more like suggestions than demands, which is, I guess, another important dividing line to draw on that one. But man, that game is so good.
This is your 4th week of playing it all day, every day?
I guess maybe, probably. But I got the urge to try that pacifist run, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And so like it seems like every time I come to a threshold where I'm thinking about doing something else, that there's something else that I could engage with in that game and still play with.
Thank you, Steam Workshop.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I think the pack I got is not on the Steam Workshop. I had to go to the actual forums to get it. But it's exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, I doubt this is the last time we'll hear you talk about RimWorld.
Probably not.
Which is good. keep us posted.
Yeah, it doesn't make good content. Yeah, but like when you only have this amount of time to do stuff, it's like I want to play what I got going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I won't bother asking you if you played something else because you haven't. I would like to know though, are you looking forward to something that is coming up in the coming months?
Great question. I don't know what's coming up in the coming months. Is Mountain Blade 2 coming out soon? Bannerlord?
Ooh, I'm totally getting that, by the way.
I'm
Yeah,
excited about that one. What else? Wow, that's the only thing on my radar. Wow, that's crazy.
There should be some big releases.
Speaking of WoW,
oh, have you played Legion at all yet?
yeah, I did. I played a little bit of Legion yesterday, and it's the smoothest launch I've ever seen for an MMO, and also the best launch World of Warcraft has ever had. Zero lag, no queues, nothing. I could just log back in, everything worked fine.
What is this, witchcraft?
Which is, yeah, it's pretty insane, because I remember all the other expansion launches.
Yep, the queues, the disconnects, yep.
Yep. So I played a little bit of it last night when it unlocked, and I played a couple hours earlier today. Everything worked fine. And the things I've seen so far, really, really good, actually.
I know you're kind of like me, and you're a big lore sucker. So how's story-wise?
Oh, it's balls to the walls insane. But, Warcraft has been insane for the past 6 years or something. Like, I like the story, but let's be honest here. It's not a good story. It's just hilarious, and it works for Warcraft.
I mean,
right?
dude, like if you look at the expansion, it honestly looks like they went through like their little vault of break in case of emergency, and they just cracked every single one of them.
Yeah. It feels like that. It's like they looked at all the other expansions and thought, what did people like the most? Let's grab all of that and put it in one.
Not just that, dude. Like it looked like they went through the forums, like the biggest, all those like suggestion polls, and like they just picked the highest thing, like in case of Demon Hunters, break glass. Oh, what you want to? Ashbringer, break glass. Oh, you want Lich King back? Break glass. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Dude, I've got fellow Malorn, Kilthas Sunstrider sword. I just own it.
That's
now. And you have to and you have to go back to Ice Crown to get it. And the new Lich King actually has some dialogue, and it's awesome. It just appeals to my nostalgia.
Dude, I want to play. Like, I'm gonna actually, because I have my warrior, but I'm gonna play a Frost Death Knight, even though they're not. I guess they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of like their DPS and stuff like that. But the reason I want to play it is just solely based on the fact that their whole artifact weapon revolves around going to Ice Crown and rebuilding Frost.
Okay, I did not know that. I am going to make a Death Knight later today.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's one of those things where
awesome.
the story, because I mean I played Warcraft back since the RTS days, and it's all the expansions that we've had, even though like they've had their ups and downs, I always appreciate them just from a story standpoint, because even though the story does get a little crazy, it still has like a lot of those references to the older games, and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. I know what this is. Like, oh, it's neat that we can actually see this character here. So even just Legion, knowing that like the Burning Legion's coming back, and then you have like, I guess your character is, I guess, finally acknowledged as like the most powerful character in your class, because I mean that's always like a weird suspension of disbelief where you're killing raid bosses, and from a story standpoint, like nobody really knows who you are.
Yeah, you used to be adventurers, but now you're a champion of the Horde, and they sort of started acknowledging that in Warlords of Draenor, but it's being taken to its logical conclusion in Legion. Although I do have to say though, like having fellow Malorn is really awesome. You even get the free like fire. Balls of fire just zipping around your face constantly.
Oh, nice.
What Kilthas also had.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. But then you go to your class hall, and then you see like 50 other people with the exact same stuff. And all of a sudden, having that sword no longer feels as epic as it did before.
Okay, so the class halls aren't aren't phased out like the garrisons were?
No, you share them with other players.
Okay. I mean, I can see that, because I know people complain about that.
Another thing that I also liked was, I don't really mind. It's better than sitting in your own in your garrison surrounded by just NPCs. That was a bit boring. It's just nice that I can actually talk to other players while I'm there doing my stuff.
Okay.
Another thing that I also really liked is you can play every zone in any order you like. You can start where you like. You can move on to the next one. You can choose which one you want to go to next. That's pretty awesome. So I went to Stormheim, obviously, because Vikings, and I landed there, and I heard bagpipe music in the background, and they were very cool. And I just got flashbacks to Howling Fjord in Wrath of the Lich King, which is my favorite zone in the entire game. Yep. And Sylvanas finally has a time in the limelight, which is awesome because they didn't really do enough with that character over the past couple of years, and now they're bringing her to the forefront, which is cool. Yeah, I can't really say too much on that game actually because I haven't played all that much, but what I've seen so far, really, really cool.
Good to know.
Yeah. Okay, I've played one last game, and that's Deus Ex: Mankind Divided.
Hey, cool.
How is that in comparison to Revolution?
It's exactly the same, but set in Prague.
How is that in comparison to the first one?
I've never played the first one, to be honest.
The first one's definitely the magnum opus for the series. I've heard, I don't know personally, but I've heard it finds a decent in between 1 and 2 in regards to, like, I guess the way you can go about a lot of situations and just the dialogue trees and all that.
It's old now, though. It's a little old now.
Yeah.
But still a very good game.
It feels like Human Revolution 100%. That's definitely not a bad thing. It's just more of that, but more refined.
Are there any boss fights?
Well, I haven't really had any boss fights because apparently I talked my way out of every single one of them,
Awesome.
which is awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
very cool.
Yep, I really do
That's
like
good because
that.
I remember with Revolution, it was, I guess they outsourced the boss encounters to a completely different company, so you could be playing.
Yeah, how weird
Yeah,
is that?
and there was such a weird disconnect. Like, I don't think they even like exchange emails in regards to like what they were putting in there, because you get to a boss fight and then you get locked in a room and the game completely changes to like a third-person action shooter, and you're like, I am not prepared for this whatsoever.
How cool would it be to be a company that just makes boss battles, though?
I mean, apparently that's what it was.
That'd be a cool company to run, man.
Yeah, but it was so weird because I remember because those games I always like, you want to do like the slick talking, charismatic kind of hacker type, and then you get to this room where they lock you in with like this cyber bully that's all like roided up with guns, and you're like, I cannot handle this whatsoever.
Yeah.
So hey, good to know that you can actually talk your way out of them at least. So that's good.
Yeah, or I just never encountered a boss. That's also entirely possible. But I think I talked my way out of it because Jeff from the Giant Bombcast, he talked about it as well, and he said I didn't have any boss fight at all because I talked my way out of it. So I assumed that that's what happened to me. As for the game itself, Prague is a really interesting destination. It's a really, really interesting backdrop to set that game in because it feels very old and European, but very modern as well, like very cyberpunkish, exactly like Human Revolution in many respects. And at the time where the game is set in, there's a sort of mechanical apartheid going on between like normal people who they call naturals and augmented people or orgs. And because you, as Adam Jensen, you are an org, you get stopped routinely and asked for your papers, this and that. The story doesn't do too much with that, which is a shame, but it's still a very interesting world to walk around in because visually it's very stimulating and visually it's just very pretty to look at. I definitely enjoyed that more than Human Revolution, which was just, in huge indoor complexes with just corridors everywhere. And this just feels more open and more real, as it were.
Okay.
Story so far is all right. Adam Jensen is a double agent for a pro-org society, and he also works for a task force that has been started to sort of stop orgs from being terrorists, which apparently they are now. I'm not too far in the story yet, so I can't really tell you where the story's going right now. But it's interesting enough to keep me going.
Okay.
So that's good. And for somebody who never really asked for anything, he puts himself in an awful lot of really risky and tricky situations, just without the help of me. So,
how's the combat? Is that good?
I want to finish the game without ever killing anyone.
Oh, cool.
Well, yeah, I usually do that. Whenever that's the option, I try to do that. And you can definitely do that in Mankind Divided as well. There's a few new augments that you can find. They're called experimental orgs, and something happens at the start of the game that gives you access to augmentations you didn't know you had, essentially.
Whoa.
Which is a very, very smart way to still give you the power you have in the opening scene. It works really well, and the way it's implemented is just it's fun, and the new orgs are really fun to play with. I won't spoil which ones you have.
I like that as a concept. Just discovering that there's a weird mechanical thing inside your body that you didn't know was there that gives you powers.
Hey, now look at this.
Yeah,
That's fun to play with. That sounds interesting.
And they are going to explain why you have those augmentations in a quest line that I'm currently working on. So they do a really good job at sort of implementing that into the narrative, which is awesome. I didn't really expect that to happen, but it's good up till now. I don't know if it's going to stay good, but so far I'm intrigued, and I'm just really happy to hear that voice actor's voice again, because his voice is just awesome. But that's about all I played, really.
Well, that's enjoyable, though.
So if it is, it definitely is. I enjoy it more than I did Human Revolution. So
glaring recommendation. I like that.
Yes. I think that's all that we can talk about here now. So we move on to the news.
Yeah.
So a game that we haven't really heard anything of for a while is The Division. The last time we spoke about that game was the horrible controversy surrounding, the horrible optimization and the absence of a lot of features and bugs, really.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I haven't heard about The Division in a while.
Yeah.
I heard their player base dropped significantly.
Oh, yes. But apparently they are trying to get it back on the rails now. They have opened, the applications are now closed, but for a brief period, they've opened applications for a elite task force. And I've got the press release here in front of me. And I'm just going to read it to you. After the details surrounding update 1.4 were announced yesterday, it's now time to give you all a bit of extra insight as to how we're going to get there. We've said before that building and improving on our game is something that we want to do with the community. And in this case, we mean that in the most literal sense. In 2 weeks, we'll be bringing people from the community to Massive, which is in Sweden, I believe, in order to make patch 1.4 as valuable to our players as possible. This type of direct interaction between us on the development side and those of you that are out saving New York in the Division every day is definitely one of the key ways to improve the experience for all players. With that said, consider this a call for submissions. We're looking for anyone within the community that wants to be a part of critical workshops and discussions at Massive in Malmö in Sweden. You don't need to be a world-famous YouTube, gigantic streamer or podcast hero to be involved in this conversation either. If you play the Division, are willing to join us for a couple of days at Massive, and are keen to speak up, then we want to hear from you. You need to be available from September 9th until September 7th to September 9th with a valid passport, and they'll pay for the flights, hotel, and food, which is pretty awesome, actually. They seem to be taking this very seriously.
Okay. That's weird. That's not going to do anything, man.
Why is that?
That's not going to do anything. It's just not going to do anything. Number one, I feel terrible for the intern who has to sort through all those applications because everybody's going to think that they're the one who has the opinion that matters, that they need to go out there, because it's more like a contest than it is any sort of constructive endeavor.
Let me tell you the story of Hitler Did Nothing Wrong, Diabetes, and Moist Nugget. Are you familiar with that?
What?
So, a few years ago, Mountain Dew decided to host a competition saying, hey guys,
yes, I know.
We want to get the community involved in naming our next flavor Mountain Dew. So they let the community vote to their heart's content. They could make suggestions, vote on it. And the top three were Hitler Did Nothing Wrong, Diabetes, and Moist Nugget.
Yeah, not really comparable in this case, is it? Because they're not talking about some online thing where you can be a funny fucker behind the comfort of your own screen. This is them actually flying you in.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason I brought that up is because I'm not saying the community's full of assholes that don't know what they're talking about, but are they going to have any kind of quality control over what kind of feedback they're getting from the people or who they're even bringing in? Or are they just picking people at random? Because, I mean, you've seen WoW forums, Destiny forums, half of the suggestions people say are, like they're pulling out of their ass.
Yeah, what I do know is that they were specifically looking for people who have an X amount of hours put into that game anyway, and like a decent knowledge of the game's mechanics. So they do certainly filter people. It's not just a random pick. They do want to pick the people that are best for the job here.
I don't know, man. Like, I appreciate the sentiment of wanting to work with the community, but I'm with Sam. I don't think that's really going to do much because, I don't know. I don't want to say the community doesn't know what they're talking about, but I think that what the community wants and says should be very, very heavily scrutinized.
Well, yeah, they'll obviously do that, but it doesn't hurt to get a couple of people who love that game and ask them what they think they should improve or should do to improve that game. There's nothing.
And you need to fly them out there to do that? That's weird, man. I mean, I get it. It's marketing, and it's a grand gesture, and it's cool for the people who get to go. I think it's too late for the division to win me back, but who knows, man. But like, if you actually want to accomplish a task, this is not the most efficient way to accomplish that task.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing I'm getting at. I don't, like, all joking aside, I think this is more flash and not a lot of substance. The whole, like, big contests, flying people out, like a paid vacation, so to speak. It's a lot of, like, flashiness to win favor with the community and kind of basically show that they're going to work with the community. But again, like Sam was saying, I think that if they were serious about improving the game and kind of focusing, I think there's other ways they could spend their resources.
Well, they've been spending their own resources in the way that they planned for the past 6 months, and that didn't really do them any favors. So it might just be a grand gesture, and it probably is, but still, I think it's a nice gesture anyway. And I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. We don't know what they are planning to do with the people who are coming over. We don't know if they're really willing to implement anything based on the suggestions. I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Fair enough. I mean,
they didn't have to do this, I mean, the people who really like the division, they're already playing. The people that don't care for that game because of the bugs or whatever, they stopped playing ages ago. They are no longer part of the equation. And I think that this is a really nice way to actively gauge what the community wants without having to resort to a forum, which is, again, not really conducive to any sort of conversation and not at all constructive. I think this is a smarter way to go about it. It might not turn into anything valuable, but we don't know yet at this point, right?
True.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I guess really it doesn't matter to me at all either way. Yeah. But I guess it is a new tactic and something I haven't heard about as far as ways to go about it. I guess it could be interesting. Who knows? Maybe the division will be good.
How do you think you would feel as the developer?
Me? I'd feel like I wasn't getting honest feedback, first of all. That would be my primary concern. I'd feel like I was... like when you do focus testing and the person who is in charge of creating the project is also not the person who runs the focus test, like there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah.
I'd feel like you would have a corrupted sample from the get-go by bringing them to your headquarters. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I do sort of see what you mean, because they pay for the flights, hotel, food, everything. So the people who are coming over are sort of predisposed to liking them already. And as a result,
then they have a chance to convince them why the changes they've made are good. And, I don't know. But, I mean, hey, man, it's going to be awesome for 8 people, and I hope they have a blast.
That's true.
They probably
more power to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just... I find it a shame that the Division was released in the state it was released, because that game showed a lot of promise, man. I mean, the level design was awesome. I thought that the setting was really cool and really well realized, but there was so much dragging that game down.
1.4, more cell phones and briefcases. Giving the people what they want.
Hey, there's a movie coming out too, so there you go.
Yeah, that's true. They sort of announced that they were starting work on. No, it wasn't a movie. It was a TV show, I believe.
Oh, was it a TV show? Okay, there was some kind of like media thing that they were going to work on.
Yeah, okay. I'd be cool with a TV show set in that universe, because I think it's interesting.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just having flashbacks to Defiance.
What was wrong with Defiance? That show was fine.
Do you know what about the game?
Oh, I didn't play the game.
Exactly.
Oh wait, was that weird MMO crossover with the TV show?
Yeah. It was.
Is that still going? That game?
I don't know, actually. It was an interesting theory when they wanted to develop it, because the idea was like, oh, we're gonna have this show and it's gonna be impacted by what goes on in the game, but the turnaround rate was way too quick, and I think at most you got like a passing mention of like, oh, so and so, they took out this thing over there, and like that was the extent of the impact.
That is a cool concept, though.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I know Telltale's is doing something like that, so like I'm actually curious about that. They're doing like a weird interactive kind of TV show / game coming out. They haven't really released a lot of details on it, but that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. Telltale's usually pretty okay with doing stuff like that, or at least narrative video games. So yeah, why not? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say, but back to. I mean, more power to them for at least reaching out to the community and trying something new. So
yeah, exactly. Only time will tell if it actually all had a point. So yeah. Moving on, there's going to be a definitive experience of Metal Gear Solid 5 that includes literally everything, essentially. Even a lot of the DLC, Metal Gear Solid Online DLC as well. But that's not really the real story, because let's be honest here, we saw that one coming from a mile away. It was a big success, and it had post-release DLC, so you just know that they were going to bundle it up and try to resell it again. But what I do want to talk about is Metal Gear Survive, which seems like it's going to be a multiplayer stealth game, and it's going to be developed and released by Konami in a post-Kojima world. So, as someone who doesn't really play that game, I want to ask the two of you who have played those games, what do you think of this? Could it succeed without Kojima?
I really doubt it.
I mean, we've all seen the new Metal Gear that they've announced, so I don't know. I guess this is a bit of a segue from this, but Konami went out and said, hey, we're going to keep the Metal Gear franchise alive. Here's a new installment, and it's a zombie game. And if that doesn't scream like scraping the bottom of the barrel, I don't know what does.
Well, apparently it is set in the world of MGS5, featuring characters from MGS5.
Actually, I thought it wasn't. I thought it took the characters from from Metal Gear Solid 5 and they got transported to a zombie world.
Gee, if that's true, that's weird.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, it sucks because I don't know what the hell Konami's doing. I mean, like, they want to take the company in a different direction. More power to them, but I think it's really shitty of them to, like, take what Kojima essentially built up, and they're still trying to throw it out there, saying like, "Hey guys, look, we're still cool, we're still hip."
Here's a pachinko machine.
Yeah, there's that too. Yes. No, but I don't know, man. I think, I hate to say it, but I think the Metal Gear series, regardless of the involvement Kojima had towards the later end, I think the reason it performed so well because it had his name brand behind it, and I think with him out of the picture, I believe it's gonna kind of really hurt the series in general.
I don't know, dude. I mean, people seem to be really opposed to this game coming out, and they called it a very non-Metal Gear game. But then you have games like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which was really like the mainline Metal Gear Solid games either. And it wasn't developed by Kojima, and it was still a success. Yeah,
it was a good game, but it was a good game for different reasons.
Yeah, but the major complaint seems to be that the new Metal Gear Survive thing it doesn't look like a Metal Gear game, but they've done stuff like this before,
See, yeah. I haven't seen that complaint.
It might be a totally competent game.
I guess.
Yeah, that's possible, but it won't have that weirdness that I think is awesome about Metal Gear.
I wouldn't be too sure about that. I mean, Kojima is pretty out there at times, but let's not kid ourselves here. He's not by a long shot as original as a lot of the fans of the series say.
I don't know, man. I have never seen a developer.
Team of writers could do, definitely.
I've never seen a developer work in a poop joke as well as he has. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
No, but I mean, I don't know. Like, from what I've seen, the complaints aren't necessarily that it's not a Metal Gear game, but rather that it seems that Konami's literally running out of ideas and they're just going like with the most unoriginal concept they could think of, which is a zombie game.
Yeah, wave-based zombie survival multiplayer thing.
So I mean, I don't know. It could end up being a really fun spinoff, but again, like I said, I think all that bad press with Kojima leaving and everything, I think it really hurt Konami in general.
Well, yeah, it certainly hurt their image because their star developer was sort of unceremoniously sent on vacation, as they said it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, then they cancelled PT.
But I think I've heard rumors that PT is actually still in the works. It'll just get revitalized as something else.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they've been working on that for an X amount of time. You don't really want all that time to go to waste, right? So you might as well repurpose it and slap a different name on it and just sell it to people. So I'm not a big fan of Metal Gear Solid, but I don't know. I sort of want to see if Metal Gear Survive is going to be good. I want it to be good, obviously. I don't know.
Sure. Hey, why not?
Yeah, I mean...
It'll be interesting. Let's say that. Regardless of how it turns out, it will be interesting.
I never want a game to fail. I'll say it that much. Like, it's bad form to just want a game to unanimously fail, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if that karma works out well for Konami. I don't think so, but at this point, we don't know. I think I've run through my list. This is the end. We have come to the end. It's done. Finito until next week. So let's say...
Oh, okay, thank God you put that disclaimer there.
Yes.
I thought you were saying like our farewell podcast.
No. We're here to stay for at least a while longer. Let's get out of here and play RimWorld and Legion, respectively. And we'll see everybody here next week. Thank you for listening. As always, if you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, give us a 4-star rating, give us a 3-star rating. Doesn't matter what it is, just give us a rating and tell us why you gave us that rating. And you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, basically everything that you'd expect us to be on. We're pretty much on that. So my name was Chris Anderson for Select Characters. I was joined by Samuel Yates and Enrique Cancel, and we'll see you next week.